Arizona's Real Rock, 98 KUPD. Good afternoon. My name is Fitz, and on the phone with me right now, Phil Anselmo, the lead singer of Superjoint Ritual, Down, and of course from Pantera. Phil, first things first, I got to tell you, man, when I was a kid, I wanted to grow up to be Phil Anselmo from Pantera, and then I realized you and I are about the same age. So yeah, if I seem a little geeky in this interview, it's because, well, now you know why, dude. So let's do this, man. Let's do it.
All right, big fella, let's tear it up.
All right, it's Arizona's Real Rock, 98 KUPD. On the phone with me, Phil Anselmo of Pantera, Superjoint Ritual, and Down. Today we're going to be talking about the re-release of Vulgar Display of Power. How are you today, Phil? Is everything good in your world?
Doing good, Fitz. Excellent.
Let's start with the new song, I guess. Listening to a song like Piss, it just, you know what, man, it really sort of puts like the modern bands in perspective and how just great Pantera was. It was so amazing to hear new music from you guys after so many years. I can't imagine a band that would be able to do a song like Piss. Why was that not on Vulgar Display of Power? Because it's such a great song.
Well, it's an interesting question because, for me, Vulgar Display of Power, the structure of all the songs and the attacking nature of each one of the songs, it's like, as I would listen to the sequencing, and all the fellas would leave it to me as to what song went where, first, second, third, whatnot, the sequencing. So when I would listen to it, it just stuck out kind of like a sore thumb because I guess it was a little bit more simple than the other songs. It didn't really have the cleverness of the other songs as far as the little tricky riffs, the in and out riffs in between, whether it be a verse, pre-chorus, chorus, etc. So either way, I just it's amazing to me that people actually like the song as much as they do because I just, at the time, I guess I didn't feel it measured up to the rest of Vulgar Display of Power. But however, on a, strangely, like a related note, you got to understand that the main verse was later used on the next record, Far Beyond Driven, on a tune called Use My Third Arm. So it wasn't all for naught. And another thing is, man, for people that really want to have the definitive Pantera collection, stuff like that, if you're like a mega fan or whatnot, a song like Piss doesn't come around a whole bunch. Pantera, we didn't have much lanyard, we didn't save a lot of stuff. We used everything that we would incorporate normally and that not have much left over. So the mere fact that it's even around is like, unique in its own way.
I pick up what you're putting down, and I got to point out, I lived in New Orleans for not as long as I would have liked. I really love that town, and it's good to hear the word lagniappe because it's just a great word. It's a perfect word to describe this. For those of you who don't know what the word lagniappe means, it means a little extra, kind of like the 13th donut in the box.
Exactly.
So that was another question. So because people are like, well, if they've got this, is there just hours of unreleased Pantera that are in the wings? And
and that's the total thing right there. It's like I said before, we didn't waste many bullets.
Right. I gotta tell you, man, when we first, me and my buddy Matt, when we bought Vulgar Display of Power on cassette, right? Because that's what we did. We put it on. We felt like we were breaking the law listening to that album because it was so heavy and so different and just, it blew our mind. Like when Watt comes on and the guitar's like, we're like, okay, that's clearly a felony right there. And then your vocals come in, then the vocals come in and I'm like, all right, well, that's clearly premeditated. The cops are going to kick in the door. Honestly, Phil, it blew us away. Now, when you were working on Pantera for that album, did you realize you had caught lightning in a bottle, that you were doing something so special, or did it just seem like another day at the office to you?
No, look, I'm the type of guy that doesn't expect much from jack crap, especially with music, because everyone has so many different opinions and whatnot. I know that we were coming off of the Cowboys from Hell tour with a lot of, I guess, education, very educational touring that record, and heaps and heaps of confidence, and we were very determined in our quest during this record to write the specific songs. We had found our strength, and Pantera, our strength was these monumental grooves that we added to these songs, or we shaped into songs. We didn't have to play a million miles per hour to get our point across. We didn't have to do double bass for the sake of double bass. We were rhythmically this energetic, rhythmic. I guess to answer your friggin' question, I had no idea.
Right.
No idea that this record was going to do what it did, and 20 years later we'd be talking about it, man. I had no clue.
Dude, not even just talking about it because people talk about time. Dude, I listened to Vulgar Display of Power. I put it on, and it's not even like one of those things like it transports me to back in the day. It's just like it still holds up as just a great album. And of course, you hear Vulgar Display, the little bits of it, your vocals, the Dime's guitar playing. You hear it in so much stuff. So now that we're all kind of aware that Vulgar Display of Power was something so special, does it ever seem like really weird to you to go like, oh wow, I was part of that?
Weird. That's an interesting word, but
okay.
Perhaps. I guess so, man. Once again, I'm pretty. I like to think of myself as down to earth, and never liked the whole rock star treatment. Never liked the whole attachment to my name or whatever or anything like that. I always felt like just another music fan, man, which
right.
I am. I'm still a collector, and you brought up cassettes earlier, and man, I used to make cassettes and mix cassettes and trade tapes across the country, and so man, really, I was just another music fan, and I still am just another friggin' music fan, and it's like, accolades and all that stuff, it's fantastic, it's amazing, and yes, it is a little weird, but still overwhelming would be the word sometimes. Right. And then, it's at the same time humbling too. And I gotta add this, because I don't think enough bands do this, but Pantera fans, to me, were the best in the world, and still are the best in the friggin' world, man, because without the fans, we would be nothing, man. We would be nothing. We can't buy our own records. We can't buy our own tickets to shows. It's like, man, So with saying that, Pantera, we had this very unique bond with our audience. We had a camaraderie with our audience that was very, very special, very different for its time. And I think it's a 50-50 thing, man. I think the fans deserve credit.
It's Arizona's Real Rock 98 KUPD talking to Phil Anselmo of Pantera. There is a deluxe ultra edition of Vulgar Display of Power on sale. It has the new song Pish you may have been hearing on the radio, and of course all the great tracks from Vulgar Display of Power. When you talk about the fans, one of the things the fans always come to me with is Pantera going to tour? The one rumor I've heard is that it's going to be you three guys and maybe Zakk Wylde filling in on guitar. So is that something real, or is that just something people being wishful thinking?
Wishful thinking. And I hate to say that, too. Really, I would put it this way. My door is always open. I love those guys. I put it this way. I miss that Pantera feel, the feeling of walking out on that stage and performing those songs and having that massive audience just turn into this swirling whirlpool of bodies. That is something that is missable for sure. So, believe me, man, if that were a truth, I would tell you. But, man, the truth of it all is, pretty much wishful thinking at this point.
I understand that. And it's sort of like, very peripherally related news. Like when the whole Coachella thing came out and there was the hologram of Tupac, I tell you, people called the request lines and said, I want to see that with Pantera. They want to see that. And I'm like, well, I can't. They would have you'd have to write them a letter. But, there is a true desire for people to see your band. And it's interesting because, you know what, man, sometimes I think about you and I also think about like Robert Plant. Like I don't quite know. Like we think of Robert Plant, everything he does is sort of filtered through the lens of Led Zeppelin. but he doesn't want to do a reunion because he'd rather make music with Alison Krauss, right? And so I respect anything that the artist is down for. It's sort of interesting to hear that you're so open to it. Now, is that something the other guys are not? Is that why that's not happening?
Well, there has been a great distance since Daryl's murder. I think Vinny is in his own place. I can't speak for the man, and I cannot speak for what is going on in his mind, but there are still wide open wounds, and I guess we have taken different paths to some form of recovery that is healthy for us. So I'm not sure where he's at in his mind, but once again, I have nothing but love for Vince. I think the media has a whole lot to do with destroying our relationship, but the media does, and in this day and age with computers and whatnot, you get instantaneous quotes, lines, messages, whatnot, tweets and Twitter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Someone could blog, someone could comment, someone could just say, this is rumor, Pantera is getting back together, whatnot, and, it'll go as a truth or come out as a perhaps, maybe it's a real rumor, this type of thing or whatever. Either way, before any of that ever has to happen, Vince and I would have to sit down, hash out whatever problems, whatever demons may exist, and thus far that day has not come.
Right.
And once again, I will say, my door is wide open.
I'm glad to hear that. So it's Arizona's Real Rock, 98 KUPD. Phil, let's play the song Piss from the 20th anniversary re-release of Vulgar Display of Power. You're listening to Arizona's Real Rock. It's 98 KUPD. We'll be back with more from Phil Anselmo right after this song. You're listening to KUPD.